Hey guys, it's 12:50 on January 1st, 2023. Happy New Year, everyone. I want to do a quick video on UVXY. This is the second video I've done on UVXY. The first one was back on December 2nd, and that is when this trade here arrived. And if you haven't watched that one, that would be helpful here. I may provide valuable context. So watch that first if you want some more background about how this pattern I'm about to talk about has repeated in the past. Forgive me, I have a terrible cold right now. So moving right along, I have a chart here of UVXY from December, and I'm going to start painting things on the chart. The first is this top zone here in red. This is where all of the moves have been terminating. And you see we had this big trade here in the second, 1.34 million. We got a spike up. We got a little bit more of a rally in UVXY, and then it started to run out of steam up here. We got a decent sized trade, 406K, and some other smaller ones too. And then price dipped, came back up and tested this top zone again, and then headed down where it was bought here, spiked back up, and then hit this lower zone in green, which is the bottom of this balance zone. This is where the moves down have been terminating and reversing back up. This comes down, up again into this top red zone, down into the green zone, up into the red zone, and so on and so forth. And that brings us to this trade that we got on Thursday, which I tweeted about. And it suggests that we should see more volatility. It comes right here at this lower balance zone, and we did get a small move up on Friday, and then they had that late afternoon rally which brought price back down. The price at which this was traded was 689, and we closed at 686, so it actually closed down just a little bit, but we did get that initial move, and in some ways it repeats the pattern from the trade on December 2nd. We got a little spike up here, came back down right about to the same level that the trade arrived at, and then it shot up again, tested again a second time, and then it started moving a little further. So this could be a similar setup here. We have a larger trade here than we had before. This is the largest since October. And we have an initial move which suggests that at minimum it's not a sell. It could be a buy. I think it's a buy. It makes the most sense for this to be a buy in this particular spot. But I'll also entertain the possibility that it's a short cover and that this little pop we got here is just a little, relief bounce, and that it will continue down further. That is not my expectation. I'll just throw that out there as a possibility. And I'm going to draw a couple of labels here. We had a buy on the 2nd, like I mentioned. We had a sell there a few days later. Sell over here, buying here. And this, I put TBD. I think it's a buy. But if it gets below this balance zone, if it gets down under this lower end here, in the 670s or so, that would start to be concerning for me. It'd be difficult for me to consider it still a buy if it's not defended. If it gets just a little bit too far beyond that 689 level, we can see it closed at 686. We got that kind of euphoric rally at the end of the day on Friday, but after hours it creeped right back up here. And it looks like 689 or 690-ish, right around the same price the trade was set, is where the after-hour sessions ended. I've also drawn this. I'm not a big trendline guy. Some people use them. Some people think they're very helpful. I put it up here just because I happen to notice, but this brown line here does connect the lows for each of these spikes down, and each one has been met with a small burst or rally of some sort in UVXY. Now, we're not talking huge moves here, 7 to 780. I guess that's a 10% or so move over a few days. The one we got on Friday was about 2 or 3% at its max level. I think it got up to 7 I don't know, 10 or thereabouts. And you can see there's a cluster here. That 710 level that it was rejected at is the same as the 710 level, I guess 713 here at where this previous trade had arrived. So there is a level here to contend with. It went up, tested it, and it failed, and it came back down about to the level where the trade initiated. So next week we have a new year. All the end of month rebalancing that needed to be done is done. All the gamma that was out there has run off. All the repositioning and so on that needed to take place towards the end of the month in a lower volume environment is now behind us. We have a new month in January, a new year, and who knows what's going to happen. So the parameters are, for as long as it's above this balance zone and we don't see anything terribly unusual, I do expect volatility to continue to rise. It would surprise me a lot if this was a sell. It would surprise me a little if it was a short cover, but I guess I can live with that. And I don't think that this was a trade for just one day. This is an awful lot of inventory for UVXY, and to only have that one little move from 689 up to 710 or so, that I don't think that's enough of a move to satisfy whoever it is that traded this here. It doesn't fit with the pattern. It doesn't fit with this trade here. It doesn't even fit with these smaller ones here. These two here were 289 and 275 together, so that's a little under 600. This is 3+ times larger than those two combined. It's about, I don't know, 50% or so larger than this trade here. And if you look at the other video and you go back at the October trades and the September trades and the May trades, they all pretty much follow the same pattern, with the exception of one, where the trade arrives and within 24 hours you start to get that move. There was one instance, and I want to say it was in May, where we didn't get that move initially, where price actually went down a little bit, and it took about 24 hours before the volatile move began. And I discussed that a little bit more in the other videos, so feel free to check that out. It's also on the YouTube channel. But this is how I see it. There are no guarantees, obviously. This is just a trade. This doesn't project targets. This doesn't suggest anything about timing. This doesn't guarantee anything. It's just showing you that there's an institution that's taken a position on Thursday right before the close. What happens after this is anybody's guess. I think it makes sense. I think the most logical outcome is to come back up and test this zone here in red, and then we'll see. If something big happens, maybe it goes beyond it. If not, maybe it just comes back and stays in balance some more. Maybe it eventually breaks down if we get some kind of January rally. So we'll see. There are a couple things coming up in January that might be catalysts. There's an FOMC, I think, on the 4th, and that always brings a lot potential for a lot of volatility in either direction. And then there's, of course, the January effect, which you can go Google and read about, which historically has been quite bullish. I don't personally know or expect that to be the case this year because of all the same stuff we've been hearing about with interest rates and inflation and everything else. But you never know. Just be prepared for either one. If it gets down below this green box, if it were me, I wouldn't really want to be long below here. I would surmise that something else is taking place. And if it starts going back up again, then there's an opportunity to profit from that. Like I said, I don't know how far it might go. You just have to watch and see where the trades show up and see where volatility reverses. You're likely, although not guaranteed, to see decent or large size trades at the end of the move. And I discussed this in the other video as well. But as you can see here with this one, on December, I don't know, 15th or 16th, volatility spiked right up. And we didn't see a ton of inventory traded up here, and then it spiked right back down. There's no trade cluster. There's no horizontal line suggesting a trade cluster was up here, which would have denoted several smaller trades. There aren't any large enough trades. This particular chart showing the top 10 trades that are at least 225,000 shares. So it can just stop on a dime and come back. And likewise down here, it got into this balance zone. We didn't see any large trades, and it went right back up. So the presence or absence of trades helps. Well, the presence of trades helps, but they're not guaranteed to be there. So anyhow, that's just how I see it. Now, as far as trading this goes, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not out here telling anybody how to trade it or when or where. I'm just outlining positioning. I'm showing you what institutions are doing, and how you decide to do this is or not do this is entirely up to you. But I will say that trading volatility is complicated and difficult, and even for experienced traders, it's easy to screw it up. So this is not an invitation to go out and buy a bunch of UVXY shares or calls and expect some kind of super crash that sends volatility up 1,000%. That is not my expected outcome. It's also not an invitation to go out and buy a bunch of SPY puts or QQQ puts and try and profit from it that way either. It's entirely possible that volatility could rise while indexes don't move a whole lot. And as we've seen in 2022, there's volatility in general has been somewhat muted, and the moves down have been controlled and frustrating to trade. So if anything, if there's any takeaway from this, it's to protect yourself, protect your long positions if you have them. And there are lots of ways to do it. You can sell calls against them. You can just get out of your positions. You can trim. You can hedge. You can, buy protective puts. There's a lot of things that you can do. And everybody has their own risk tolerance, and everybody has their own preferences, and everybody has their own time frames and so on. So I cannot possibly begin to suggest that anybody do anything at all other than to be aware that an institution has taken a position in UVXY. And these are somewhat rare because, as we've seen for the last, I don't know how long, UVXY almost always just goes straight down. So for an institution to take a large position like this, it suggests that something is somewhat imminent, some kind of volatile move. And it could be a few hours, it could be a few days, it could be a month. I don't know. There's no way to know just by looking at this chart. But it doesn't suggest that this is a position that they're just going to sit on for a week or 2 weeks or a month and then, try and profit from it, because UVXY is not something you want to stick around in very long. It is fraught with decay. It is a horrible instrument to hold for very long. And just full disclosure, I don't have anything myself. I did take a position on Thursday. I did get a little bit of this move, but it didn't really take off like I thought it might. And of course, at the end of the day, it just collapsed. So I had to stop in here. I had a small position. I made a little bit off of it, but I didn't want to hold it over the weekend, and I didn't know, as that Friday rally was going, how high they were going to take it and how much volatility was going to come off. So just played it safe. I made a small trade, made a few bucks, got out. And then we'll see where we go on Tuesday. I think, for me personally, for as long as it's above this green zone, I'm going to dabble in it somehow, and I'll decide when the time comes. But it might be by trading UVXY directly. It might be by trading SPY or QQQ or some other instrument with the notion in mind that this trade is out there and, in my view, hasn't been resolved. And I'll consider it resolved if it breaks below this green zone, or if it rallies for some period of time and we get some large trades, or we get a spike back down and it's, sufficient volume has been traded, substantively higher. And how much higher, I don't know. For me, it's just a judgment call in the moment. I won't just look at this trade. I'll be looking at other things too. I'll be looking at what futures are doing, or what might be on tap as far as data releases or whatever. It's not a for me anyway. I won't just look at one thing and decide to trade it or not trade it, or buy it or sell it or short it or whatever. I'm gonna think about it in the context of what else is going on. So that's me. But like I said, not financial advice. I have to throw that out there. The safest thing to do is to just be aware that this is there and let that help you guide your decisions about when and how much risk you want to take. That's it. So questions, send me an email, info@volumeleaders.com. I always have my DMs open on Twitter if you want to talk. I am open to this being a short cover, which would not result in a big move, but that is not my primary expectation. I do think it's a buy, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm wrong all the time, and I'll know I'm wrong when this thing falls below this zone. And I guess for the technical analysis guys, that maybe I'd be willing to re-entertain something down here in the 660 level if it comes back and interacts with this trend line. But by then, I'd be down. If I took a trade here at 690, I'd be down 30 cents, and it's not a good idea to get behind on UVXY. It's not a good idea to be long when it's falling, because you just never know how far it's going to go. Historically, this thing has fallen from, it decays and decays, and they continue to do reverse splits and so on. And it's just, I think if you look at a 10-year chart, it's worth 1/1,000,000th of what it was worth 10 years ago. Some ridiculous number like that. So anyway, please be careful. Don't have high expectations that this is going to be a moonshot, and it's just a trade. That's it. It's just a trade, like any of these other ones. This was just a trade. This was just a trade. These were trades. This was trades. And information will continue to come in. This thing could do anything. So that's it. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.